Well, one more thing to fix. So these are my two outside rain barrels that catch all the rain from this gutter here off my greenhouse. And so those two barrels are about 4 feet off the ground. I'll show you. We go inside the greenhouse. Excuse the mess. They feed these 3 rain barrels in here that are all attached. So this is the first rain we've actually had in about 3 months. So I didn't realize that my downspout there had become disconnected until I looked down at the bed and I just saw the water just streaming down. So I'm going to have to fix that today because I don't want that water to drown out that particular bed. It's falling onto a pepper plant, and yeah, and I don't want to lose that production. So, but it is good that we're getting rain, and hopefully in the interior of the province they're getting this rain too, because they're having all those problems with the wildfires. So with today being a rain day, I thought it'd be a perfect chance to move along those brassicas that I started in the speedling trays into the 4-inch pots. So today, we're going to move these cauliflower seedlings from the 98 cell speedling tray into 4-inch pots. Now the process for moving the seedlings into the 4-inch pots, it's the same for all type of plants, not just the brassicas. You know, I do my tomatoes the same way, I do my peppers the same way, you know, the eggplants, all those plants get moved along in this fashion. So this demonstration can be used for all types of plants. I just wanted to show you a few tips and techniques that can make the process not only faster, but better with less damage to the plants so that you can maximize your transplant success. So the first thing we got to do is we got to fill up these 4-inch pots with our DIY potting mix, and I'll throw a link to that video down below. We got to do this step first because these trays, after we fill them with soil, are going to have to soak in water for about 20 minutes. Now, I normally do this in my wheelbarrow outside, but because it is pouring rain, I thought we'd just do it here inside the greenhouse. So after you get your pots all filled, you're going to want to push them down with another pot. And this is because the mixture is quite light and fluffy, so we want to compact it a bit so we don't leave any air pockets where roots can dry out. And then you just top it off with some more of your potting mix. And that's it. Now we're ready to soak them. Alright, so I have a couple of trays filled with 18 of the 4-inch pots. Now we want to soak them for about 20 minutes. And all I do is I take one pot out and I fill the bottom of the tray with anywhere from 2 to 4 liters of water. Now I always try and use rainwater or pond water in this instance. You know, because we're dealing with very young plants, I don't want to kill any more of the beneficial bacteria inside the soil than I have to, so I really try to avoid tap water at this stage. And don't forget to put that one back in. All right. Now we wait about 20 minutes. All right, guys, it's been about 20 minutes. The pots are good and moist. They've soaked up all the water that was in the bottom of the tray. So now we're ready to transfer the seedlings into the 4-inch pots. Now for this, you only need one tool, and that's a flathead screwdriver. Now the first thing you're going to want to do is turn the screwdriver upside down and start making holes in every single one of your pots. Now I try to make a hole about 3/4 of the way down. So you're going to want to mark your screwdriver off, to where that would be in the pot, so that you know how hard you got to push for each one. So now you can see why we wet the potting mix before making the holes, because if you didn't, it would be too dry and it wouldn't have any integrity, and these holes would just crumble. So you gotta wet these guys first. It allows you to make these nice, neat holes, and it makes the planting go that much faster. So now that you made your holes, you want to use this end of the flathead screwdriver to pry out your plugs. And they come out nice and neat like that. So now that you got your plug out, you can start placing them in the holes. Just like that. So you can see how ridiculously easy that is using a simple flathead screwdriver. Now essentially, we can go ahead, do this whole tray, and any trays we want to do after that, assembly line style. And they all come out the same, they all come out perfect, with little to no damage to the seedlings. So let's go ahead and get this first tray of 18 4-inch pots done. So there we go. We just made a full tray of cauliflower starter plants that in about 2 weeks, they'll fill out these pots and they'll look like something you would buy from a professional nursery. But these are better. We know they're not sprayed with any chemicals. We know what's in the soil because we made the soil ourselves. And we know the variety that we're growing because we planted the seeds ourselves in the Speedling trays 2 weeks ago. So I do all my own starter plants here on the farm. I don't buy any. I don't buy any in the spring and I don't buy any in the fall. And so this is the process that I do to create my own starter plants. Beginning from the Speedling trays, either the 72 cell or the 98 cell, depending on which I'm growing. And then after about 2 to 3 weeks, I move them on into the 4-inch pots. So the same process will happen for my tomatoes, for my peppers, for my zucchini, for my eggplant, for my cucumbers, whatever it is, I do the exact same process for each plant on the farm. And with doing it yourself, you have control over when the plants are ready, how big they're grown, what varieties you grow, and you have the peace of mind knowing that everything is chemical and pesticide free. So in terms of timeline of when you would start things in the Speedling trays, it all depends on what you're growing. For where I am in the Pacific Northwest, my tomatoes and peppers and cucumbers and eggplants, they all get started the first week of January. And then by about mid-March, sometimes early March, depending on how warm the spring is, that's when they get moved on to the 4-inch pots. Now, in the fall, for my brassicas, like the cauliflower, the Brussels sprouts, the broccoli, the process happens much faster because these Speedling trays are germinated in the middle of summer. So they germinate quick, 3 days tops. And then you don't want them to get too tall and lanky, otherwise they get too hard to pot in here without snapping the stems. So instead of about 2 to 3 months in the Speedling trays, they're only in there for about 2 weeks. And then they're in these guys. And it's only about another 10 days to 2 weeks before these guys are ready for sale or potting into my own garden. So that's it for today, guys. Pretty simple stuff. I just wanted to show you how I do it. You know, even though it is really simple, this is the beginning of almost every plant on my farm. So it is very important that this process gets done properly and at the right time. You know, if I deviate in any way, shape, or form from this process here, it can really affect production going forward later on with those plants. So as always, guys, if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. I'd love to read them. You know, how do you start your plants? Do you use speedling trays? Do you go buy them at the big box stores? You know, do you live in a warm enough area where you can direct seed right into the ground? You know, it's fairly obvious that I'm a huge proponent of starter plants. And that's not because I sell them. Even if I didn't sell them, I would grow 90% of my stuff from starter plants. It just makes sense. And actually, I'll throw a link down to that seeds versus starter plants down below. You know, I did a video on that about a month ago, you know, explaining the pros and cons of seeds versus starters. So check that out if you can. Smash that like button if you like this video or any of the other videos you've seen on my channel. That'd be fantastic. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. You know, for those of you that have, thanks a lot. I really do appreciate the support. And I'll see you guys next time. Well, looks like the rain stopped. No excuse not to work now.